Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you something. Have you ever wondered why some people seem to live extraordinary lives while others, just as talented, never break free from the ordinary? It's not luck. It's not chance. It comes down to two skills that determine whether you rise or stay stuck, whether you connect deeply or live in isolation, whether you create impact or remain invisible. If you don't master these skills, life will control you. But if you do, you'll unlock a level of power, clarity, and influence you didn't even know was possible. And today I'm going to show you exactly how. And if you truly want an extraordinary life, one that doesn't just feel average, one that doesn't just coast by with the ordinary routines of survival, then there are two essential skills you must master. They are not techniques you pick up and use once in a while. They are not nice to have. They are the foundation upon which your entire life can be transformed. They will determine the quality of your relationships, the size of your vision, the energy you bring into every room, and ultimately the results you create. And here's the truth. Without them, all the intelligence, opportunity, and resources in the world won't mean much. But with them, doors open, momentum builds, and a level of fulfillment beyond your imagination becomes possible. And the first skill is the ability to master your emotional state. Everything you do, every choice you make, every interaction you have is filtered through the state you're in at that moment. Think about it. When you're in a state of frustration, anger, or fear, do you show up as your best self? Do you communicate clearly, act decisively, or think creatively? Of course not. But when you're in a state of certainty, passion, determination, or love, you act completely differently. You're unstoppable. The same situation can appear like an impossible obstacle in one state and a thrilling challenge in another. That's the power of state. And the difference between people who live extraordinary lives and those who don't comes down to their ability to direct their emotional state at will, instead of letting life or circumstances dictate it for them. And this doesn't mean you'll never feel fear, sadness, or frustration. It means you'll learn how to recognize them, shift them, and choose a different energy that serves you instead of drains you. Most people live in reaction. Something happens and they react. Someone criticizes them and they collapse. Something doesn't go their way and they spiral downward. They give their power away to circumstances. But the truth is, you always have the ability to take that power back. You can condition yourself to access courage when you're afraid, calm when you're overwhelmed, energy when you're tired, and joy when life feels heavy. It's a skill, and like any skill, it can be developed. The more you practice, the faster you'll be able to shift, and the more control you'll have over your life. And here's the key. Motion creates emotion. Your physiology is the fastest way to change your state. If you're slumped over, shallow breathing, shoulders down, eyes cast to the floor, what kind of emotions are you going to feel? Weak ones. But if you stand tall, shoulders back, breathe deep, move with intensity, what happens? Your emotions change instantly. Your brain starts firing differently. The chemicals in your body shift. The way you use your body literally rewires the way you feel in seconds. This is not theory. It's science and it's proven. You felt it before in moments where you had to rise to the occasion, when you pushed yourself physically, or when music moved you to tears or fire. The problem is most people forget that they have this tool at their disposal every single day. They wait for something external to shift them when all along they could be doing it themselves. And it's not just about the body, it's also about focus. Whatever you focus on, you feel. Focus on everything that's wrong and you'll feel hopeless. Focus on what's right, on what's possible, on what you can control, and your entire emotional experience shifts. The combination of physiology and focus is the key to emotional mastery. And when you master this, life stops being something that happens to you and starts being something you design. Because if you can change your state, you can change your decisions. And if you change your decisions, you change your destiny. And the second skill that will give you an extraordinary life is the art of effective communication. Now, I don't just mean public speaking or persuasive sales. I mean the ability to communicate with power, clarity, and influence in every area of life. Think about it. Every relationship you have, every opportunity you create, every challenge you overcome is influenced by communication. It's how you share ideas, how you inspire others, how you resolve conflict, how you connect deeply, and how you lead. Yet most people have never consciously trained this skill. They think communication is simply about talking. It's not. It's about connecting. It's about creating understanding. It's about moving people emotionally and aligning them with action. And the first level of communication you must master is the one you have with yourself. The words you use internally shape your reality. If you constantly say to yourself, I'm not good enough, I'll never figure this out, life is against me, then no amount of talent will save you. You've already defeated yourself in your own mind. But if you choose words that empower you, I will find a way, I've handled worse before, I am growing stronger through this. your entire nervous system responds differently. Your belief system expands, your sense of possibility grows, and that inner communication sets the tone for how you communicate externally. And when it comes to others, communication is not about what you say, it's about what they hear and feel. Have you ever said something with good intentions only to have it land completely wrong? That's because communication isn't just words, it's tonality, it's energy, it's body language. People don't just listen to what you say, they feel who you are. If you want to influence, inspire, or lead, you must align your words with your physiology and your emotion. Speak from certainty and people will believe. Speak from love and people will trust. Speak from vision and people will follow. And here's the truth. The quality of your life is directly linked to the quality of your relationships, and the quality of your relationships is built on the quality of your communication. Think about the moments of deepest joy in your life. They almost always involve connection with a partner, a friend, a family member, a team. Now think about the greatest pain you've experienced. Chances are it also involves a relationship. That's why mastering communication is non-negotiable. It's not just about business or influence. It's about love, about intimacy, about creating a life that's rich and meaningful. And so imagine this. If you can master your state, you can show up every day with energy, passion, and resilience. And if you can master communication, you can connect deeply, influence positively, and create opportunities that others can't even see. Put those two skills together and you become unstoppable. Because no matter what life throws at you, you can control how you show up and you can shape how others respond to you. These are the two levers that move everything else in life. And some people spend their whole lives chasing strategies, shortcuts, and hacks when in reality, what they need is to build these two foundational skills. Everything else flows from them. With emotional mastery, you'll never again be a prisoner of circumstance. With communication mastery, you'll never again be alone in your vision. You'll bring people with you, you'll build teams, you'll create movements, and that's what makes a life extraordinary. Not the absence of challenges, but the ability to rise above them and to bring others along in the process. Once you own these skills, your future is no longer limited by fear, doubt, or misunderstanding. It becomes defined by courage, clarity, and connection. And here's what's fascinating. Most people don't even realize that these two skills are muscles. Just like your body, if you don't train them, they weaken. But if you commit to them, if you make them part of who you are, they grow so strong that they redefine your identity. Imagine waking up each morning knowing that no matter what comes your way, you have the power to control your emotional experience. That means stress doesn't control you. Fear doesn't paralyze you. Disappointment doesn't linger. You rise faster, move forward quicker, and spend less time stuck in the mental traps that keep most people from ever reaching their potential. That's what emotional mastery gives you, the freedom to choose how you live instead of letting life choose for you. And think about the moments in your life where you felt completely unstoppable. Maybe it was a time when you overcame something you thought was impossible. Maybe it was when you poured yourself into something so deeply that nothing could distract you. Those states weren't random. They were created, even if unconsciously. Now imagine being able to create that at will, to be able to step into certainty and strength when the stakes are high, to access love and compassion when conflict arises, to ignite energy when exhaustion creeps in. That's not fantasy, it's discipline, it's awareness, and it's practice. And the more you practice, the less time you'll spend in disempowering states, and the more time you'll spend creating the life you truly want. But here's the challenge. Most people think their emotions are who they are. They say, I am angry, I am depressed, I am anxious. But those aren't identities. They are states. They are experiences you're having, not definitions of who you are. Once you understand that distinction, you reclaim your power. You're not a depressed person. You're a powerful person who has been practicing depression. You're not an anxious person. You're a strong, capable person who has been practicing anxiety. And what you practice, you become. So if you want to change who you are, you start by changing what you practice daily. Practice gratitude instead of frustration. Practice confidence instead of doubt. Practice joy instead of worry. And soon, those states become your default identity. That's how extraordinary people are built. And now let's look at the other skill, communication. Because even if you master your state but fail to connect, inspire, and influence others, you'll never fully experience an extraordinary life. Life is not meant to be lived in isolation. The greatest experiences of your life are magnified when shared, and your vision becomes reality when others believe in it as much as you do. Communication is the bridge between your inner world and the outer world. Without it, your ideas, your passion, your vision remain trapped inside you, but with it, you can unlock doors, build unshakable relationships, and move people to action. And consider the difference between someone who struggles to express themselves and someone who can speak with clarity and conviction. The first person might have brilliant ideas, but if they can't communicate them, the world never sees them. The second person might not be the smartest in the room, but because they can move people emotionally, opportunities flow their way. History shows us this truth over and over again. It's not always the person with the best ideas who changes the world. It's the one who can communicate those ideas in a way that makes others feel, believe, and act. And the beauty of communication is that it starts with listening, real listening, not just waiting for your turn to talk, but truly entering another person's world. Because when people feel heard, they open up, they trust, they become willing to connect. Too many people think communication is about convincing others to see their point. But extraordinary communicators focus first on understanding others. They ask questions, they get curious, they connect with emotions, not just words. When you make people feel understood, they become open to understanding you. That's how influence is built, not by force, but by alignment. But influence also requires energy. Words without energy fall flat. You've probably met someone who spoke all the right words, but you didn't feel anything. And you've also met someone who spoke simply, but you felt the fire in their voice, the certainty in their posture, the passion in their eyes. That's because communication is not about the words. It's about the transfer of emotion. If you want people to feel inspired, you must first feel inspired. If you want them to feel confident, you must speak from confidence. If you want them to feel urgency, you must embody urgency. People respond to authenticity. And authenticity is when your words, your body, and your emotion are in alignment. And here's the part most people miss. Communication doesn't just shape your relationships with others, it shapes your relationship with your future. Every time you speak about what's possible, you are programming your brain to believe it. Every time you tell your story with conviction, you reinforce that identity within yourself, the language you use. See, about your dreams is either expanding them or shrinking them. Say maybe one day and you weaken it. Say, it will happen and here's how, and you strengthen it. Your words are not just sounds. They are commands to your nervous system and they direct your destiny. And now imagine combining both of these skills. Imagine waking up and deliberately choosing your state, stepping into energy, gratitude, and certainty before your day even begins. Then imagine communicating from that place, walking into a meeting, a conversation, or even a simple interaction with that energy flowing through you. Do you think people would respond differently? Of course they would. They would feel something unique, something magnetic. They would want to be around you, to follow you, to believe in you. And that combination creates momentum. Momentum in relationships, momentum in opportunities, momentum in life. And think about the people you admire most. They aren't people who never had problems. They're people who learned to rise above their problems by mastering their state. They're people who created movements, companies, art, or impact by communicating powerfully. They weren't born with it, they built it. They trained these skills daily until they became second nature. And that's the key. Mastery isn't an event, it's a commitment. You don't master your state once and never worry again. You don't master communication with one speech and never grow again. You practice, you condition, you build, and over time, you become the type of person who doesn't just dream of an extraordinary life, you live it. And here's something else. These two skills multiply every other skill you have. You might be brilliant in business, but without emotional mastery, you'll collapse under stress. You might be a genius in science, but without communication, your discoveries remain hidden. You might be a talented athlete, but without state control, your performance crumbles under pressure. These two skills are the force multipliers. They take whatever you have and expand it to its fullest potential. Without them, you're capped. With them, you're limitless. And so ask yourself, how much longer will you live at the mercy of circumstance? How much longer will you let disempowering emotions dictate your day? How much longer will you hold back your voice, your ideas, your vision because you haven't trained your communication? If you want more love, more impact, more freedom, more fulfillment, then these are the skills you must prioritize. They're not optional. They are the foundation. And when you make them a priority, everything else in your life transforms. Because an extraordinary life doesn't come from luck. It comes from mastering the fundamentals that create it every single day. And because here's the reality, life will always test you. It will throw curveballs when you least expect them. You'll face setbacks, betrayals, financial struggles, health challenges, and moments when everything you've built seems to crumble. That's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. The question isn't whether challenges will come. The question is, who will you be when they arrive? Will you let the storm dictate your emotions and silence your voice? Or will you step into the skills you've trained, master your state in the middle of chaos, and communicate in a way that inspires others to rise with you? This is where ordinary lives are separated from extraordinary ones. Ordinary people let the storm consume them. Extraordinary people become the calm in the storm, the force of certainty that others cling to when everything else is shaking. And you've probably seen it in your own life. Think about the people you know who fall apart under pressure. Their emotions spiral, they say things they regret, they disconnect from others, and they sabotage themselves. Then think about those rare individuals who seem to get stronger under pressure. They remain calm, focused, and decisive. They communicate clearly, rally others, and turn obstacles into opportunities. What's the difference? It's not luck. It's not genetics. It's the skills we're talking about right now. They've trained their nervous system to return to strength instead of weakness. They've built the muscle of communication so that in moments of intensity, their words carry weight and direction. That's why they thrive where others collapse. And now let's get real about what mastering your state actually looks like. It's not just about pumping yourself up with positive thinking. It's about conditioning your nervous system every day so that strength, confidence, and energy become your default. It's about training your body and mind to associate challenges with growth instead of fear. It's about rehearsing empowering states so often that when life knocks you down, you don't even think. You bounce back automatically. Just like an athlete doesn't wait until game day to train, you can't wait until crisis hits to practice. The work happens daily. How you breathe, how you move, what you focus on, the language you use, these are the reps in the gym of life. Every day you either strengthen your ability to step into power or you weaken it by neglect. And when you add communication into this picture, you multiply your influence. Because your state doesn't just affect you, it affects everyone around you. Walk into a room in a state of certainty, and people feel it instantly. Walk in with fear or doubt, and they feel that too. Humans are wired to mirror emotions. That's why leaders who master their state elevate everyone around them. And when they can communicate that state, when they can articulate vision, share belief, and ignite emotion in others, that's when momentum becomes unstoppable. That's how movements are born. That's how families heal. That's how teams win. It all starts with one person who has mastered themselves and learned to communicate in a way that connects and inspires. And let's be honest, most people never take the time to train either skill. They stumble through life hoping things will get better, wishing they had more confidence, wondering why no one listens to them, and blaming circumstances for their lack of progress. But wishing doesn't create change. Training does. Wishing doesn't build muscle. Repetition does. If you want extraordinary, you can't dabble. You must commit. You must decide that mastering your state and mastering your communication is not optional. It's mandatory. Because everything else in life flows from these two. Your career, your relationships, your finances, your health, your sense of fulfillment, all of it is amplified or diminished by these skills. And let's dive deeper into communication for a moment. Think about the greatest pain you've ever felt in a relationship. Chances are it wasn't the event itself that hurt the most. It was the words that were said or the words that weren't said. Communication has the power to heal or destroy, to build bridges or burn them down. Extraordinary lives are built on extraordinary relationships, and extraordinary relationships are built on extraordinary communication. It's about being able to tell the truth with love. It's about being able to listen without judgment. It's about being able to express your needs without fear and to inspire others without manipulation. That level of communication requires courage, vulnerability, and practice. But when you commit to it, your relationships transform, and with them, so does your life. And at the same time, communication is also about vision. If you want to live an extraordinary life, you must be able to communicate your vision so clearly that others can see it, feel it, and believe in it. Think about the innovators, the leaders, the creators who shaped history. They didn't just have ideas. They had the ability to make others believe in those ideas. They painted pictures with words that made the impossible feel inevitable. They used stories, metaphors, and emotions to connect with people at a human level. And you have that same potential if you're willing to train it. Don't just think of communication as a way to get your point across. Think of it as the tool to enroll others into a future that doesn't yet exist, but can if you inspire them enough to join you in building it. And now let's talk about the synergy between these two skills. Because mastering one without the other is powerful, but mastering both together is life-altering. When you control your state, you ensure that fear doesn't silence you. When you control your communication, you ensure that your strength reaches others. When you combine them, you become unstoppable. You can face rejection without collapsing. You can turn conflict into connection. You can transform setbacks into stories that inspire. You can create alignment where there was once division. That's the kind of power that shifts not just your own life, but the lives of everyone around you. And here's the ultimate truth. Extraordinary doesn't mean perfect. It doesn't mean a life without pain, without struggle, without mistakes. Extraordinary means living fully, facing challenges head on, rising again and again, and creating impact through who you are and how you connect. Extraordinary means that when people leave your presence, they feel better, stronger, more alive. Extraordinary means that when you look back on your life, you know you gave everything, held nothing back, and became the person you were meant to be. And none of that happens without mastering these two skills. And so what does that look like in your daily life? It looks like catching yourself when you slip into disempowering states and shifting immediately. It looks like practicing gratitude when your mind wants to complain. It looks like standing tall, breathing deeply, and moving with energy when your body wants to slump and quit. It looks like asking better questions when your brain wants to focus on problems. Questions like, what else could this mean? What can I learn here? How can I turn this into fuel? And with communication, it looks like practicing honesty even when it's uncomfortable. It looks like speaking with passion even when you're nervous. It looks like truly listening instead of preparing your rebuttal. It looks like choosing words that empower instead of diminish. These are not abstract ideas. They are daily disciplines. And daily disciplines create lifelong transformation. And when you commit to mastering your state, you stop being the victim of circumstance and start being the creator of experience. When you commit to mastering your communication, you stop being misunderstood and start being magnetic. And when you commit to both, you stop living small and start living extraordinary. That's the choice in front of you right now. Not tomorrow, not someday, right now, because the life you want is waiting, but it won't wait forever. And in the choice you make in this moment matters more than you realize. Every decision you make compounds. Every time you choose to master your state, instead of letting it master you, you stack strength upon strength. Every time you choose to communicate with honesty and courage instead of silence or avoidance, you stack connection upon connection. Over time, those stacks become towers, and those towers become the foundation of an extraordinary life. But the opposite is also true. Every time you let fear dictate your state, every time you shrink instead of speak, you stack weakness upon weakness, disconnection upon disconnection. And soon, those stacks become walls that trap you in an ordinary existence. That's why the smallest choices today create the biggest outcomes tomorrow. And think about the moments when you hesitated, when you let doubt steal your voice. What opportunities passed you by? What relationships drifted away? What growth did you delay? Now think about the times when you stepped up, when you chose courage, when you communicated your truth even though your heart was racing. What breakthroughs came from those moments? What relationships deepened? What doors opened? That's the difference between living in fear and living in mastery. One keeps you stuck, the other sets you free. And here's the secret most people miss. Mastery is not about controlling everything outside of you. It's about controlling the one thing you always can, yourself. You can't control whether someone criticizes you. You can't control whether life throws obstacles in your path. You can't control how others interpret your words, but you can control your state and you can refine how you communicate. That's where real power lies. That's where freedom lives. The moment you stop trying to control the uncontrollable and instead master the controllable, your life transforms. And now let's bring this down to something practical. Imagine you're in the middle of a conflict with someone you love. They say something that stings. Immediately your body reacts, your chest tightens, your breath shortens, your mind starts racing. If you don't master your state, you'll fire back with words you'll regret. The conflict escalates, and what could have been solved in minutes takes days, weeks, sometimes years to heal. But if you've trained yourself, you notice the shift in your body. You pause, you breathe, you stand taller, you refocus. You choose calm instead of rage, clarity instead of chaos. And from that place, you communicate differently. You don't attack, you express. You don't blame, you connect. The entire outcome changes the relation. Endship deepens instead of breaking. That's the power of mastering these skills in real time. Or picture this, you're about to step into an opportunity that could change your future. Maybe it's an interview, a presentation, a conversation that matters. Most people walk in carrying fear. They slump their shoulders, speak hesitantly, and dilute their message. And because of that, the opportunity slips away. But imagine if you walk in after conditioning your state, your body energized, your focus sharp, your belief unshakable. You communicate with clarity and certainty. People feel it. They respond to it. That's the difference between doors closing and doors flying open. It's not about chance. It's about preparation, discipline, mastery. And let's go even deeper. Mastering your state isn't just about peak moments. It's about daily living. It's about how you show up when no one is watching. It's about how you handle mornings when you don't feel like moving, how you handle setbacks that no one else sees, how you speak to yourself in the quiet of your own mind. Extraordinary lives aren't built in the spotlight. They're built in the shadows of discipline, in the repetition of small choices, in the daily practice of these two skills until they become who you are. That's when you stop trying to be extraordinary and start simply being extraordinary. And communication works the same way. It's not just about big speeches or critical conversations. It's about how you talk to your kids at the end of a long day. It's about how you encourage your partner when they're struggling. It's about how you lead a team, not with commands, but with vision. It's about how you interact with strangers, with colleagues, with yourself. Every word either builds or destroys. Every conversation either connects or disconnects. And when you start to see communication through that lens, you begin to treat it as sacred because you realize its power to shape everything you touch. And now consider the ripple effect. When you master your state, you don't just impact yourself, you impact everyone you meet. Your energy becomes contagious. Your resilience becomes a model for others. Your calm becomes their calm. Your passion becomes their fuel. And when you master communication, your influence multiplies. Your words become the spark that ignites change in someone else. Your listening becomes the mirror that helps them see themselves clearly. Your vision becomes the compass that guides them forward. This is how extraordinary lives create extraordinary impact, not by chance, but by mastering these fundamental skills. And let's talk about identity for a moment, because at the core, these skills reshape how you see yourself. When you master your state, you stop identifying as someone fragile, someone easily broken, someone who crumbles under pressure. You begin to see yourself as strong, adaptable, unshakable. And when you master communication, you stop identifying as someone who goes unheard, someone who is misunderstood, someone afraid to speak. You begin to see yourself as influential, impactful, powerful. That shift in identity is where the extraordinary life truly begins. Because once you see yourself differently, you act differently. And once you act differently, your world changes. But remember, identity is built through evidence. You don't build it by saying, I am strong, and hoping it sticks. You build it by proving to yourself day after day that you can master your state, that you can communicate effectively. Every time you do it, you gather evidence. And with enough evidence, your belief becomes unshakable. That's why repetition is everything. That's why practice is non-negotiable. Because you're not just building skills, you're building identity. And identity determines destiny. And think of the life you want, not the surface level stuff, but the deeper experience. Do you want to wake up with energy and passion? Do you want relationships, eyepiece that are rich, meaningful, unbreakable? Do you want to create impact that outlives you? That life doesn't come from luck or waiting? It comes from mastery,